In only 6 UFC fights, Dricus Du Plessis has dismantled the cream of the middleweight crop to win the belt.
He is that monster truck that runs over the smaller ones.
And that too, against all odds.
Yes, man, I never thought that we'd be here today with Dricus Du Plessis as the middleweight champion of the world. I didn't know.
Nobody gave him a chance, yet he now reigns supreme as the king of the middleweight jungle.
And when they said and knew, it felt like 15 years of work, of dreaming, of sacrificing, of everything came together in one single sentence. It was.
With great power, however, comes great responsibility and challenges. And what's a bigger test than a man who cleaned the division once and wants to do it all over again? In his past 3 middleweight bouts, Israel Adesanya has lost twice. But as they say, a wounded lion is far more dangerous.
God, he keeps winning. I will gladly drag his carcass across South Africa. Wallahi.
Will Dricus Du Plessis shock the world for the umpteenth time? Or will Israel Adesanya re-establish order in the division? Before they face off in a battle of will and skill, let's dive deeper and understand who has the advantage where. Israel Adesanya entered the UFC middleweight Shark Tank as one of the hottest prospects in 2018. And within 3 years, he established himself as the emperor with wins against top contenders, title victories, as well as title defeats. He had no equal, until Alex Pereira upset the established order by knocking him out at UFC 281 to win the 185-pound belt. Izzy exacted his revenge and knocked Pereira out cold at UFC 287. A few months later, Dricus Du Plessis blew the MMA world out of the water by taking out the toughest nails former champion Robert Whittaker at UFC 290. The South African essentially booked his place as the division's #1 contender, and even had an uncomfortable face-off with the champ in the cage.
This is my African brother right here. Let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah. What's up? Get gonna do. Yeah, my African brother. Yeah, my African brother. What's up? I'm African, but I ain't no brother.
The reason why Adesanya was so pissed at Du Plessis was because the South African had called him, Francis Ngannou, and Kamaru Usman inauthentic African champions because they didn't live and breathe in the African air.
Well, I mean, did those belts ever go to Africa? As far as I know, it came to America and New Zealand. I'm going to take a belt to Africa.
Izzy took the comments personally.
He tried to discredit the 3 kings and say that he's the real true African champion. And I was just like, it's a weird mindset, bro. Like, he came in the UFC. I knew who he was a little bit, but I didn't go, oh, who the fuck's this fake dude coming in? I just said, cool, he's another African in the UFC. But then him discrediting me, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, that ticked me off a little bit. So that's
the then champ's initial plan was to teach Du Plessis a lesson in humility at UFC 293, but still Knox turned down a quick turnaround, bailing out citing an injury. With DDP out, Sean Strickland's reign didn't last long, however, as he lost a closely contested decision to Dricus Du Plessis, who now reigns as the division's undisputed champion. In just 7 UFC fights, Du Plessis has beaten some of the biggest names in the division, like Brad Tavares, Darren Till, Derek Brunson, and of course, Strickland and Whittaker. DDP's rise has been slow, steady, and ignored. He didn't have a rise like Adesanya, who enjoyed a great amount of spotlight through his journey from contendership to championship glory. DDP silently took out everyone, and that is what makes him the most dangerous guy in the division. He was expected to lose more often than not, yet he somehow managed to pull a rabbit out of his hat and win every single time.
And Dricus Du Plessis looks different. But as I now have gained an appreciation for his style, I know what it looks like to me now. It looks like a champion of the world.
Maybe that's the reason why he's a very minor underdog against Israel Adesanya. The odds are too close to call, and for valid reasons. DDP is on the rise, while Adesanya is on a downward slope. Yet there is every reason to believe that Izzy will put his heart and soul into his next fight. That only means that we're in for a treat on fight night. Adesanya, as we all know, is one of the finest strikers in the UFC, and in all of MMA for that matter. He's an exceptional counter-striker who uses range, distance management, and timing to his advantage. He's a master at setting his opponents up and putting them in vulnerable positions. He's very unpredictable, and his feints often leave his foes hypnotized. Izzy does everything a world-class striker should, and that's why he's extremely effective against most guys in his division. But here's the catch. He doesn't like being pressured by a cardio freak. In his most recent, like a maniac, and just relentlessly throw 1-2s at him. DDP's pressure is just as solid as Strickland's, if not better. And considering Adesanya needs space and distance to perfectly execute his game plan of striking from the outside, this fight is super interesting in that regard.
I think Dricus fighting Sean displayed a level of pressure that he can put, which is, to stop a pressure fighter like Sean. I thought that was pretty impressive. He's tough and dogged in that effect.
Du Plessis likes to march forward and throw punches from weird angles. He's not pleasing on the eye. Neither is he the most technical of strikers out there. But there's something about his gorilla on roller skate style that makes it so effective and unpredictable. The fact that DDP isn't conventionally good at striking makes him extremely hard to make reads on. He's awkward. He's tense. He gets about 4 minutes into a fight before he turns bright red and starts gasping like a landed fish. He often appears exhausted after a round or two.
Very, very tired. He'll tell you that he wasn't, though.
But then he miraculously gets a second win. DDP is extremely unpredictable and awkward, which makes it extremely hard for his foes to predict his next move. Israel Adesanya will have to face the same problem. The former UFC champion is a master at making reads on his opponents, identifying their established patterns and then exploiting their weaknesses. Dricus Du Plessis may have a ton of weaknesses, but exploiting those is a tough task, especially when he moves in recklessly. Adesanya can catch him on the counter and shut his lights out, but there's also a high possibility that DDP bull rushes his foe and rocks him with his powerful blows. The South African is arguably the strongest middleweight in the UFC. He's built like a tank with a ton of muscle mass, which helps him in grappling exchanges. But can he outmuscle Adesanya and take him down?
If Dricus can get him down, if he can get a hold of him, that guy is fucking massive.
Izzy is impossible to take down. He's a big middleweight, and he moves around extremely well inside the cage. He's a tough man to cover distance against, a super tough guy to take down, and an even tougher individual to hold on the mat for Adesanya. Sure, Izzy's fought excellent wrestlers like Derek Brunson and Yoel Romero. Sure, he was controlled on the mat by Jan Blachowicz in his light heavyweight debut, but he hasn't faced someone with a high-level BJJ. So it'll be interesting to see how Izzy deals with DDP's submission threat if and when the fight hits the mat. It all depends on how DDP approaches this fight, because fighting as a contender and a champion are two different things. If he's cautious and fights Adesanya at a distance, he'll lose 9 times out of 10 because Izzy will pick him apart with leg kicks and counters. However, if he stays true to himself and bull rushes Adesanya, it's anybody's fight to take, because to avoid a forward-pressing DDP, Adesanya would have to stay on his toes throughout, circle away from the danger zone, and counter. If Du Plessis' chin holds up and he continues to press forward like a man possessed, then we're in for an absolute war, particularly considering the fact that Adesanya's confidence is at an all-time low, and Du Plessis is through the roof. The margins for error in this fight are few and far between for both men. Who do you think will win the blockbuster middleweight title fight between Dricus Du Plessis and Israel Adesanya at UFC 305? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.